What's up, Meta Nerds? One of the most shocking images from the new clips from episode 9 was an apparent darkside Rey and her folding lightsaber staff. Whatever this actually means, I am certain that the choice to have her look like she has fallen to the dark side, with this particular and very unique lightsaber, is a nod to other fallen Jedi in the canon expanded universe material. Now I really think this will just be a vision. Perhaps Palpatine, whether he be alive or just like the old Republic Sith who had their spirits bound to their tombs, maybe a phantom Palpatine is haunting the Death Star ruins, and when Rey goes there he senses that she can become incredibly powerful, maybe even lead the Knights of Ren and control a new evil empire. A red blade wielding leader of the Knights of Rey. There are a lot of legitimate complaints about the new Disney ownership, but one thing they do extremely well is to coordinate all of the expanded universe material. Characters and events from comics, novels, TV shows, and movies are all constantly flowing into each other. Be nice to have this kind of story mapping in the actual trilogy, but I digress. The point is that the movie creators work closely with the creators of the two biggest EU TV shows, The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. Both of these series have this lightsaber in them. Rey's folding blade is new on the big screen, but that style first appeared in The Clone Wars in 2011. Now, in order to explain why the blade itself is a hint at a falling Jedi, I gotta warn you that there are really big spoilers for both Star Wars Rebels and perhaps my favorite arc in the entire Clone Wars series, so seriously just stop here and go and watch those if you haven't already. I would hate to spoil those in a video like this, but honestly I don't know what the hell you're doing watching Star Wars videos when you have unfinished Clone Wars episodes to watch. Lay off the spice, kid, and rethink your life. But with that out of the way, of course we're talking about Pong Krell and the Grand Inquisitor. I believe these are the only two times this blade is shown in canon, and both of these characters started off as revered Jedi and turned to the dark side due to Palpatine's manipulation. Let's start with Pong Krell. He's a Basilisk, the same species as Dexter Jettster, and was one of the most successful Jedi generals during the Clone Wars. The problem was, as the war continued, he realized that the Sith would win. Interestingly, Krell says that he foresaw it.
A new power is rising. I've foreseen it. The Jedi are going to lose this war, and the Republic will be ripped apart from the inside. In its place is going to rise a new order, and I will rule as part of it.
Not sure if this means some sort of Force vision, or if it was merely deduced based on what he saw in the war, but what he believes will happen is of course what Darth Sidious had been planning all along. So Palpatine didn't directly manipulate Krell, as far as we know, but the Sith's secret machinations and ultimate plot was discovered by Krell, and it was enough to turn him away from the light. So this obscure weapon many Star Wars fans never even saw before, and what is the biggest surprise of this new trailer, was first introduced with a character that was one of the most shocking turns to the dark side in Jedi history. If that was the only time, then maybe I wouldn't be so convinced, but why I call it the Saber of the Fallen Jedi is because the only other time it's shown is with the Grand Inquisitor. He was once a Jedi Temple guard, and though of course not all guards fell to the dark side, he's the only one that gets any kind of story. For the viewer, this blade is synonymous with Jedi that turned to the dark. His story is that of a Jedi who grew disillusioned after seeing how the Council and Republic treated Ahsoka during her trial, causing him to eventually be open to Darth Sidious's call. He goes from holding one of the most prestigious roles in the entire Jedi Order to the leader of Sidious's band of Jedi executioners known as the Inquisitors. As Grand Inquisitor, he was tasked with killing Kanan Jarrus, a survivor of Order 66, and his newly taken Padawan Ezra Bridger. When he fails, he proves just how terrifying Palpatine was to those who disappointed him, saying,
"There are some things far more frightening than death."
He would rather die than see the Sith Lord's wrath. Kanan would not learn of the Grand Inquisitor's past until some time later. In a Force vision induced by a Jedi temple on Lothal, he battles against a temple guard and their folding lightsaber staff. What's great about this too is that in this episode it has a lot to do with masters and their apprentices' feelings that they let each other down. Just like how the main story of the sequel trilogy is that of Kylo Ren disappointing Snoke, Luke feeling like he let down Ben Solo, and Rey stuck somewhere in the middle. In the Rebels episode, Ahsoka fears that she may have been able to prevent Anakin from falling to the dark side, and Kanan worries that he isn't skilled enough to keep Ezra in the light. Both are experiencing Force visions in this episode, so really this might be a hint that Rey's red lightsaber staff is ultimately a vision too. But either way, I believe that this is definitely a nod to the fans that have seen Rebels and the Clone Wars. Obviously, this trailer is supposed to get people talking about whether Rey turned to the dark side, and for us with this extra bit of knowledge, perhaps the choice in Lightsaber was supposed to conjure up the precedent of prestigious Jedi that wielded that exact blade, each of them falling to the dark side. It's both so obscure, but also not a new design, that it makes me think there has to be some extra layer of meaning behind it. And there actually are some behind-the-scenes facts for this as well. In Legends, there is Baka Seka in the game Dark Forces 2 that appears to have a foldable lightsaber staff in some artwork. When he fights, they do just separate into two different blades, but even he helps my point in that the only time we see this is with fallen Jedi. His only life goal was to become a Jedi, but he was denied for being too old. He eventually turned evil, embraced the dark side, and joined the Inquisitors, following under Jarek, the Legends equivalent of the Grand Inquisitor. What do you think of all this? Do you think the foldable lightsaber is cool or silly? Your answer can be both, since this is Star Wars after all. And do you think that this is just some sort of vision, or Rey will actually turn to the dark side? Definitely let me know in the comments down below. If you want to follow us on social media, help support the channel, or get your own copies of the reference materials used to make these kind of videos, be sure to check out the links in the description. Special shout out to our supporters over on Patreon, but more important than all that, remember, every frame in Star Wars has an elaborate backstory, and the Force will be with you, always.